All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, to our first webinar of Microavia company. It's a pleasure to see you, all of you here. So probably we can wait a couple of minutes just to people joining our webinar. And so we just moving forward in a couple of minutes. Thank you. Since we're waiting the people to come to our webinar and join in the session, probably I can introduce myself. So my name is Stanislav Savin, and I'm head of partnerships at Microavia company. All right, and today we have two esteemed speakers. Yeah, so the first one is Alex Lapirov, and he's our CEO. Alex is going to introduce you to the world of UAV solutions and share the insightful interview of the company products. Also, he'll do his best to figure out how to grow a business with Microavia. And the second speaker is Sanju Matthew, is a drone technology partner, and Sanju, an expert in the drone industry, will cover the most industrial applications and approval necessary for UAV implementations in your workflow. Right, so I think that a lot of people are coming, and probably we can start our webinar. So probably a few words about the agenda for today's session. So our webinar is going to last approximately about 45 minutes, and we will cover lots of topics, and we'll make an introduction of the company. Also, we'll cover our technical know-how and the most industrial applications. We're going to talk in more specifically about the products and specifications and the ways how to integrate UAV solutions into your workflows. Right, and also we'll have the Q&A session in the very end of this webinar. So please, you're welcome to ask your questions during this webinar in the chat, or otherwise you also have an opportunity to ask it in after our session in live. Right, and yeah, one important thing I need to mention is actually that we are prepared some kind of gifts for those who would be most engaged in the Q&A session. So we're welcome to ask the questions. Right, I think we can start. So Alex, the floor is yours. Please take it over.
Yep, thanks, Stan. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. We'll try to focus on the things which not just relate to Microavia as a company and not to the products which we make, but we'll rather try to focus on what relates to you first, so that you could find something interesting, something probably you didn't know about the company and the product portfolio, if at all. Plus, we really welcome any questions you might have afterwards. So if at all, please go on, ask questions. So let's start. We hope you love the slogan of today. So we have this love, tech, and robots. And these are three topics: love for nice technical solutions, the solutions per se, and robots, which are fly in our case. So this is something we're going to talk about today. So just a very brief highlight about what Microavia is for the moment and what we are aspiring to be. So a company is almost 4 years old for the moment, and it manufactures the ecosystem of products and solutions for autonomous flights. So what we have for the moment is an enormous technical expertise, which is over 40 engineers and people who are specializing in different aspects of very advanced robotics, circuitry, electronic design, machine learning, as far as it comes to pre-processing on board the copter and post-processing of the data which has been collected by the payload. We also develop a number of products which are actually the infrastructure around the copter and the station, but we'll talk about that later. We have also developed a number of incredible technical know-hows, which we're very willing to share today. And if you look at what we fly and how we fly, you'll notice that we fly an autopilot, which is completely designed and created by the people at Microavia. We use a proprietary system for geoscaping, which we have open source. So later we'll tell you a few words about it, and you're welcome to try it out. We have a tethered machine, which is a tethered copter with some incredible winch system, some algorithms which provide, some reliable video transmission while the copter is airborne, and the hybrid UTM, so that the users could have a number of convenient tools to control not just the copter, not just the flying things, but also the ground infrastructure, the station, the GNSS antenna, and the related electronics, the software. So it's all designed and manufactured by Microavia. And the most important thing, how we bring it closer to you. So we are actually focusing on a partner-centric sales model, which means we focus on manufacturing the technical solutions and providing the software backend to make sure this is as usable by the end users as it could only be. But at the same time, we rely on our partners in delivering their projects, in talking to the customers, and making sure that the customers provide their direct feedback on the use cases they want to use the machines in. And we also talk a lot with the partners to make sure that we listen to them delivering those use cases to us, and we adjust the copters, the stations, the software to make sure that they deliver the best user experience, which we can't just provide at the moment. Yeah, that's the team. The headquarters of Microavia is currently based in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and we work across several regions. So it's Middle East, it's Europe. We have a sales and marketing office in Cork, Ireland. It's Southeast Asia, which is a rising star, and we have a lot of focus on that region for the moment. And it's Latin America, where we also are growing our partner ecosystem and welcoming a number of new partners every month. So let's get to the products. In a nutshell, the complete infrastructure for the autonomous robotic solution embraces a number of very advanced technical solutions. So number one is a robotic drone in a box platform. Actually, this is way more than just a housing for the copter. This is also a battery recharging station. This is also a server backbone for all the data which is collected and could be processed on site. And this is also like an electric facility which keeps all the infrastructure up and running reliably. Then comes the copter, which is the protagonist of the whole Microavia story, and one of the most flexible general purpose copters you can find in the market nowadays. So to make this copter enormously usable and convenient for the customers and for their use cases, we have designed this general purpose platform which could host a number of payloads. And for the moment, we provide like those payloads adjusted for Atlas, but also you can play with this model. You can actually integrate whatever you have in-house, your in-house designs, or you can integrate any third-party software for post-processing with the help of Microavia UTM and by integrating with the UTM. And you can also use this platform the copter platform. You can also use this platform to work on a number of really important hardcore applications under different weather conditions. So we'll tell you later in a little bit more detail what is the functionality of the copter and what are the functions and what are the tech specs, so that you could learn a little bit more about why and how this is so functional. The next thing is the tethered drone, and the tethered drone is one of our favorites actually, and we see growing demand for tethered solutions across all the markets where we operate for the moment. We have designed a specific winch system which keeps the threads always strengthened, and that's why the copter could be up in the air regardless of the weather conditions and the wind. It's also important that we have designed it in a way that we use a high-speed data transmission which is wireless, as compared to most of the tethered copters which use wired data transmission. That's why we can actually raise the copter and keep it in the air up to the altitude of around 280 meters, which is, for the moment, one of the top altitude measurements, again, which you can find in the market. We also keep focusing on the payload development, and for the moment, we use some third-party cameras for photo and video operations. We also have integrated lidars and thermals, which is a pretty natural way of using the copter. But the works on developing the payloads is underway, and we'll soon be happy to announce some of the advanced products, namely some proprietary cameras, which will be fully designed and engineered by Microavia. We do so for a purpose of getting the picture as crisp as possible, even at high zoom rates. And because the gimbal and the autopilot, they work perfectly in sync, we can provide enormous crispness and enormous level of detail for the picture, regardless of the speed, of the pitch, of the yaw, oscillation, wobbling of the copter. So the picture stays in focus, stays nice and clear, and actually ready to use later on. The last but not least is the UTM system, which is a gem of the overall infrastructure. Why is this so important? Since there's a number of UTM systems out there, and we might be easily using one of those. The thing is that the UTM which we have is not just a UTM system which, well, you would expect just shows you the bearing of the copter, gives you the map and the ability to plan missions. This is all there, but there's way more to that. The UTM we provide also gives you an opportunity to not just plan the missions, but also keep an eye on all the infrastructure which is integrated with the copter and the station, and make sure that since you've got a number of stations or a number of copters up in the air, you'll be able to successfully manage all of them and make sure that they all stay in sync. So just a little bit more about the autonomous robotic station. So it's a very quick deployment thing. So actually the copter could be deployed in less than a minute. And we have one of the best battery swapping times in the market. So this means that in less than 90 seconds, actually, the feeder will not just take the battery from the copter up to the flight, the post-flight battery swap, but will also choose the most performant battery, provided the weather conditions, provided the battery performance, provided the requested length of the mission. So the feeder will choose the best battery and fit it right into the copter in almost less than 90 seconds. We operate on 4 batteries. So 3 batteries will already give you a 24/7 flying ability, but the 4th battery is necessary once you want to balance the flight and have some more juice in case the payload is heavy or the wind is stronger than you expected. Plus, it's a very nice balancing measure if you have several copters landing on the same station, and the station works like a beehive in this case. We have also tried it. We're lucky to have had an ability to try the station under a number of versatile weather conditions. So it's actually tested under operating temperatures from -30, -35 actually, up to +50. And it stays perfectly operational and ready to launch the copters and accept the landings. The copter platform. So as we described, so the flight time, it heavily depends on the weather conditions, but normally we say that this is something which is capable of staying up in the air from 48 to 60 minutes with the maximum velocity of up to 60 kilometers per hour. And we designed this copter to work with a number of payloads, which can weigh up to 3.5 kilos. The copter is completely and fully remote, so you don't need an operator to fly it. It's controlled by the server, so it's a fully autonomous flight. That's why we call this not a copter, but actually a UAV robot. So what it also takes for the copter is that you can switch between 4G or 5G connectivity depending on your streaming needs. There's also a number of redundancy scenarios which are implemented in hardware and software. So we are trying to make sure that whatever happens up in the air, whatever is the weather, whatever are the weather condition, whatever is the situation up in the air, the copter stays safe, the copter stays controllable, and the copter is ready to land either on the station, or if something still goes wrong and the station just can't accept the copter because of, like enormous wind gust or something, there is an emergency landing spot, which the copter can also operate and accept as a landing pad. And this is the teeter copter. So it's also very quick to deploy. Just because this is like more a mobile platform, it's a little bit longer in deployment than a regular copter or a copter which takes off from the drone in a box. Because we have this very specific thread, which was designed by our engineers to keep the copter at very high altitudes, so we can stay up in the air at the altitude of up to 300 meters, provided a little loop, which is always there. We can't fight the physics, the law of physics yet. And it's almost unlimited operating time. So the only thing you have to take care is you have to make sure that the engines are operational, the props are there, and everything is working fine. So the rule of thumb for a teeter copter is just down it for maintenance like once a month, check if it's okay, if it can still stay up in the air, and then you can launch it back up in the sky. It takes no additional control, no maintenance. It's controlled through the same UTM, so you can like work with the payloads. You can adjust the video stream, and you can work with the data on pre-processing and post-processing. But this is something which works round the clock with the minimal human interaction ever. The payloads. So these are the three major types of payloads which we offer for autonomous robotic platforms at the moment. So it's a video camera, which is a water-resistant thing with a controllable zoom. And this camera is enormously stabilized. So we welcome you to experience the focus and the crispness of the image on a demo flight, if you like. There are thermal sensors which we use, which could be extremely handy in use cases where you have some agriculture, where you have some public safety use cases, and the photo camera, which is one of the most general purpose types of payload. Yeah, and this is the UTM. So we've worked a lot on making sure that this UTM provides an enormous user experience. So this is one of a few UTMs out there in the market, which could work from either a cloud setup or could be rolled out on premise behind the user's firewall, which makes a lot of change for the customers who want more privacy, who want more control over their data, or somehow limited with the cross-border data transfer. It also provides full functionality in relation to the control, related to the control of the copter, the landing station, the gimbals, the payloads. So it's like a one-stop shop for everything Microavia and for everything which is integrated with this UTM, because it's not necessarily a Microavia product, which could be visible and controllable through the interface of the UTM. We keep the API open. We're working on SDK to make sure that it's not just an API integration, but that the integration in broader term with any third-party software or hardware will be as easy as it could be. So the other thing which we want to stress here is the user interface. So we spent a lot of time designing this UTM, and we actually used the people from game design to make sure that they somehow incorporate their experience in controlling the flying objects and in controlling the map and in making sure that the objects are perfectly accessible and visible on the map. So what we hear from the users is that they just love the way the copter is controlled in this interface, and they love the way they can see all the necessary information which they require in the context. So if it's airborne, there's one set of data. If the copter is landed on the station, it's a different set of data. If it's currently the station which is under operation, then it's just another set of data related to the station and the batteries and the chargers. So it's like an enormously convenient tool. And what enables this UTM is a technology which is called Open Globus. So this is an open source JavaScript library which has been developed by Microavia and which is used for interactive 3D maps and geodata. So think of it as Google Earth on steroids. Using Open Globus gives you an enormous ability to actually control in full how the data is reflected on the map. What are the points of interest? What are the measurements? How good you want the objects to be rendered up the map, so you can actually control the quality of rendering, and you can control how many objects and all the linear connections. So there is an enormous visualization capacity which is there in Open Globus. And one of the best news regarding this product is that we have actually open sourced it. So the team which is developing Open Globus, so we use that internally to enable Microavia UTM. But if you feel that this is something you would love to use in your own projects, let us know. We'll be happy to help you integrate that. Okay, so an important thing which we would love to relay is that we don't see what we make, what we manufacture. We don't see that as something which is a product, for the sake of product. We think of what we manufacture as enablers for the digital transformation journey of many enterprises across different industries. And that's why we have paid so much attention to the fact that that our products, they stay open, and they are open by design, that you can integrate with the UTM, that you can integrate with our copter, that you can actually integrate your infrastructure with the landing station, which is an enormous backbone for drone delivery. It's an enormous backbone for some localized post-processing. When you want to post-process something on the spot, and you just move the server inside the station, and specifically for the areas which have very poor network coverage, this really looks like a life-saving sort of thing. So this product is not about flying. This is about a digital transformation journey which we want you to make, and about our enablers to help you along that way and down that road. So I'm handing it over to Sanjay now, so that he covers a little bit the applications for the autonomous station, and some practical aspects and the use cases. Sanjay, please.
Thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, Sanjay, you're welcome. Please go on.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar of today. First of all, I'd like to thank Alex, Stans, and the entire Microavia team for having me on this first of the webinar and show the support as a drone technology partner. Microavia solutions, as you have seen in previous slides presented by Alex, are being designed, manufactured, assembled in the UAE, primarily intended to cover the primary use cases, which involves plant, industry, engineering, infrastructure, construction, and also delivery and surveillance use cases. So the task of me is to cover actually the applications related to the drone use cases, relevant to the UTM, relevant to the drone in a box solution from Microavia. So what we have seen is primarily the main three use cases what could be used as identified is inspection of infrastructure facilities. Now, in terms of infrastructure facilities, it could be critical as well as non-critical. In critical infrastructure, where we're talking about plant, oil and gas, and such kind of facilities, there is a regular inspection in terms of shutdown and maintenance, as well as for the regular periodic plant inspection for wear and tear. So the drone in a box is a solution which can go beyond visual line of sight. So that helps the facility owner as well as the end users to have a planned drone activity without having to mobilize the drone every time from a different positions. That helps a lot in the inspection of infrastructure facilities. Addition to that, the other application, what we're talking is industrial site monitoring. In terms of industrial site monitoring, it can be done around the clock. So when you have a drone in a box solution, the drone is taken care of its from the weather conditions in terms of heat and other environmental hazards. And whenever the mobilization happens, it triggers through the UTM, which is again a platform provided by Microavia, using GNSS corrections as well as other virtual reference station net connectivity. It goes to the specific geolocation, which is accurate to, I would say, centimeters. And you can have real-time data streamed on your dashboard that helps you to do an industrial site monitoring. In terms of agriculture, yes, we actually we might have to talk about the sensors in agriculture, which will be addition to the regular cameras, which will have multispectral cameras and hyperspectral cameras as we move forward. Those cameras can be again customized and assembled into the existing Microavia drone platform and can be read into different softwares for better plant and environmental health monitoring, as well as for the crop management system. So The other set of applications, what's been identified is to use it in the resorts as well as in high hilly terrain and mountainous environments where the access to reach is actually hard. So in this case, since the drone has got a battery life of 60 minutes, it's able to do a long-term waypoint mission as well as a mapping mission, depending on the scenario what you use. And it can cover live data as well as the data can be streamed into the UTM once you have access to that. So this helps to actually counter the fact of hard reachable locations where you have to put ground control points or any other survey monumentation. So this avoids that particular commercial aspect. In terms of public safety, yes, again, as we spoke about the movement of drones, public safety is one of the key use cases where Microavia drone as well as the UTM has got a lot of applications which can be developed along with the drone imagery and artificial intelligence and other robotics part included in that. Delivery using the Microavia UTM as well as the drone in a box is also a potential solution where as far as we see that there's when we involve in a beyond visual line of sight or even visual line of sight, there is a lot of scenarios where you can't land the drone to do a delivery. So in this case, the drone has got some stations where you can deliver and then the product can be accessed by the end users based on some security settings. Regarding the services, of course, we've talked about drone solutions and the technology behind it, but there is also another segment which is actually services offered by Microavia for drone as a service in terms of different industry use cases. Primarily, there is as Alex mentioned, there is a specialized team of engineers and data processing specialists. And the drone data capture is one part of the journey, but the most important part, or I would say the end user interface, is more to do with the accurate deliverables. And the accurate deliverables come from specialized people as well as the technologies and software behind it. Some of the main services, primarily what Microavia offers is aerial photography, which involves primarily in simple meaning aerial filming. So if you want to have just photography and video of a specific construction site, and you would like to upload that on a weekly progress or a monthly progress for your construction progress monitoring, that's also definitely possible. In addition to that, as I said, there's a LiDAR sensor, which can be clubbed onto the drone platform, which can be used for aerial scanning, laser scanning. The laser scanning application helps you to get you a very high precise point cloud down to centimeter level of accuracy. And then that can be combined with the VRS or ground control points. It can be processed and the outputs can be generated to centimeter level of precision. Thermal imaging is very much used in most of the inspections in terms of plant and industrial inspections where there is a difference between hot and cold environment. This is something also as a service can be provided for facades as well as for roof inspections for solar PVs and other business cases, whatever is required. Monitoring of linear objects, as we all know, there is plenty of transmission power lines and overhead lines in most of the countries. I mean, everywhere it's in a different height and construction structure. So these are actually also capable to be provided. So you can have a continuous monitoring of your power lines and get the photogrammetry data as well as LiDAR data. And I think moving forward, there could be also potential to integrate a corona camera, which is called UV. So UV cameras can be integrated moving forward. So that will be also quite a good application where we see that most of the overhead lines, as they get aged, they will have to do some sort of UHL inspections. Orthomosaic, as most of the people who are in this room, I think most of the people would be quite knowing this terminology called orthomosaic. It's actually one of the basic data formats was created from a drone surveying. It is primarily a 2D data output, which has got X and Y. And this X and Y, it'll be in WGS, can be converted into a UTM format based on your country and your coordinate system, what exists locally. So the outputs are orthomosaic, dense point cloud. As you all know, the point cloud is primarily in LAS format, but then those can be transformed into other industry usable formats as well. Digital terrain model, most of the people who are in construction or I would say mining as well as In landfill projects, they would be mostly dealing with DTM for excavation and also for the site preparation works. So DTM is another output which can be created and provided to you. 3D surface model is also an additional output that is primarily available in different formats, OBJ, .dxf, as well as in other industrial formats. If you require a special format which is used by your own in-house software with your business, then that can be also advised. So we can convert those formats and give you in your usable formats as well. Construction monitoring, I believe I have covered, but I will again talk about construction monitoring. Most of the projects happen in basically civil or asphalt or infrastructure projects. There is a tendency of doing a weekly progress as well as a monthly progress. Some of the progress meetings are done manually by handheld cameras. Some of them are done by the stationary cameras. But there is also an added advantage of using a drone for construction monitoring. The reason why, because it covers all the data and whatever you see on site from a different perspective, from all the perspectives. And then you can have actually a regular a drone survey, drone monitoring done. And then you can see the comparison between different months, what has been the progress, and you can identify what exactly has been the changes happen on site. So inspections, and I think construction monitoring is somewhat very much, the activity is similar, but inspections is more towards planned industries. And also I would say in terms of production facilities. So inspections can be done on a long-term as well as short-term basis, depending on the time frame of inspections.
Right, thank you, Sandra. Let's talk about more about the licenses and approvals necessary to permit the flights in the UAE.
Right. Yeah. As such, I mean, most of the people would know UAE is highly regulated on use of drones in terms of commercial. There are certain permissions to be taken. Buying a drone is only the first step, or maybe buying a drone in a box solution. But then there are certain registration paperwork to be done depending on the emirate. Once you register your drone, then you have to get an approval for your company to get as a commercial drone operating for your use cases. There are some security level approvals for the company as well as for the owners of the organization. There are drone pilot training certificates to be done. So there is actually a sequence of approval process flow, which we can help. I mean, I'm sure Microavia as a team, they can help you once you decide to go ahead with a drone in a box solution or a drone, a copter, and with the certain payloads, and you understand the use cases. License or approvals can always be worked on with the support of the team. So as such, I've seen that Microavia has got all the local approvals to fly within UAE in all the Emirates. So that's a great achievement within this period of time, and I think it's a great thing to move forward in working partnerships.
Right, thank you so much, Sanju. Thank you very much, Alex. And we're moving forward to the Q&A time. So I see right now we're having a chat, a couple of questions, and yeah, I would like you guys to ask to give responses for these questions. So the first one is, how do you see the further development of these drone in the box units?
Okay, yeah. So we're actually focusing on taking this further, and the further development, in a nutshell, it's about integrating the station in the workflow of a customer. So since we stick to that concept of being open by design, we make sure that we talk to the customers as much as we can, that we talk to the prospects, that we talk to the industry partners, specialists, and communities, and we try to understand what are the use cases they prefer, how they want the operations to be performed. At the same time, it's very important to stay in compliance with the local legislation wherever you fly, specifically once the regulations are there. So it's a little bit easier on the one hand, but at the same time, you have to stick to a number of very important regulations. And the cornerstone of the whole operation concept is safety. So we are also focused a lot on making the BVLOS, so non-human operated flights beyond the visual line of sight, as safe as possible, making sure that we integrate as many systems, backup systems in software, like backup scenarios and different triggers, and checks and pre-flight and during the flight and post-flight, but also making sure we've got the necessary hardware and components on board the copter in case something happens, that it still stays a safe situation for everyone.
Thank you so much, Alex. So the next question is, how does the solution works in the areas with the poor mobile internet? So there is an issue with connectivity, definitely, sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very common question for, I think, any robotic station provider, and we're no exception to that. So these could be resolved in a number of ways. One of the ways is actually to set up a private network infrastructure to keep the copter always connected to the station. In this case, we create some sort of a private network where the station, the copter, the UTM, and all the infrastructure components, they speak to each other within an enclosed network perimeter. So this is like one of the ways. The other way is actually analyze the use case better, because if for some cases you don't need like real-time streaming from the payload, then in this case the copter can perfectly fly on telemetry stream only, and you can use the data which is collected by the copter once it lands. So actually the data could be collected right after the landing. And there is always an HD, if we say video, then there is always an HD stream, which is being recorded on board. If we say photos, there is always a set of high quality photos with an enormous amount of extra information. So we maintain our own proprietary format for photos, which allows to store an enormous amount of data alongside the image. If it's like LiDAR or any other payload, then I mean we can just store the data locally on board and then extract it to the station for post processing or further relay to the data center.
Right, great. Thank you so much. The next question is about approvals, actually. So Sanju, I think this is on you. So can delivery companies start using drone in a box in Dubai at public locations or still at closed premises?
Hi, thanks for that question. I think the question is quite relevant. At the moment, delivery activity using a drone is very much restricted for certain, I would say, very specific cases. So on a higher level, I would say it's not allowed yet, but there is a certain paperwork and process which I believe there is a process involved that, where there is a certification for certain companies for using on a delivery use case. And I think that work is in progress, and we are waiting for certain next stage where that can be taken. So at the moment, if I ask me, at the moment it's not allowed, but moving forward, I think we will have those available soon, depending on the area and location. And even in closed premises, if the area belongs to you, of course, then that can be a different use case. But if it's public location, it's at the moment restricted, but there is a paperwork and process involved in it.
Great, thank you so much. I see lots of questions actually coming in the chat and the Q&A session as well. All right, so probably yeah, we can move to another one. So is it fine for military border monitoring during the day at night? Question regarding the military structures.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think this is limited to the military operations only. I think it's a very common case when a customer wants to have a 24/7 monitoring within an enclosed area, which we know is a great use case, not only in the military context, but also for large warehouse operators, for logistics operators, for national parks, which is one of our customers. He's exactly focused on keeping the national park safe. It's also enormously applicable for ports and docks, not for the airports, unfortunately, because of so many limitations up there in the air, but ports and docks, they do use the same methodology. They do follow the same concept. So yes, it could be either it could be either a drone-in-a-box solution where the copter keeps on the schedule and flies along the fenced area or across the fenced area. So there is actually a number of scenarios. It could also be integrated. One of the few things which are so great about the robotic station is that it could also be scenario triggered, like if in a military context or in any 24/7 monitoring context, a customer has some, say, signaling fence, which actually reports the moment it's been broken or overjumped, or just something happened to the consistency of the fence. It reports the coordinate back to the data center. So in this case, actually, the drone station could trigger and send the drone over to check what has exactly happened there. And if a human is necessary, then just call for the human support once the situation is clear to the operator. If we say drone in a box, then a drone in a box specifically flying in high altitudes is an enormous way of keeping the area secure, because this altitude gives you like an enormous ability to control the things from far. And the copter could be up in the air 24/7 with the AI triggering on some certain motion, or motion just from a living being, or I don't know, like some sort of number of people getting in the frame, or just a still frame as you like. So, or both. You can actually use a robotic station with a tethered copter to keep everything, locked and closed. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty relevant use case.
Right. Thank you so much for elaborating on it. So the next question, is there any plans to make Microavia drone-in-a-box solution agnostic, so integratable with other drones?
No, not yet. So why so? Because, well, first of all, we do believe that there is an enormous amount of technology in our copters, and you are very welcome to try those. So we'll be actually happy to, run a demo flight for you and show you, how the things are engineered in a copter. This is like a really high caliber, very technology-centric type of a robotic copter, which we think in the industry will be happy to use. But we understand that there are customers who actually are enjoying a fleet which has been supplied by a number of suppliers, and probably some of the big names, and they would love to use the same station, trying to recharge those copters or somehow integrate with them. So I think for the moment, the only thing we can realistically do is to make sure that these copters or parts of the infrastructure are actually visible within UTM. By means of beaconing, we can actually make sure that they report their bearing, speed, altitude, status, are they airborne or have they landed. But I don't think that's realistically for the moment we can actually support anything more than that. Once we see a growing number of third-party copter manufacturers, I think it makes a lot of sense to create some sort of partnership where we'll be eager to provide the API we have so that they could use our UTM actually to control their fleet as well. So this is like perfectly doable. For charging, well, I mean, if the dimensions and the very concept of the bottom-fed battery is respected within a copter, then I think that potentially it's not that it could happen right away, but potentially this integration with our landing and charging station could happen, but not for the moment.
Right. Thank you. So we see lots of questions actually in the Q&A. So maybe we can go just one by one. Do you see it, or I shall announce it? How it would be suitable for you?
I think there are really great questions coming from Paul and Ahmed, and Vijay as well. So I think that since we are a little bit time bound, and so that we could keep everyone, entertained. I mean, let's take them offline and reach out. I mean, because the questions are really terrific, and we would be happy actually to answer all of them and get into a deeper discussion with with Paul and Ahmed and Vijay, and yeah, there is, I think, a number of questions as well. Yeah, so let's just take that offline and create a separate thread for that.
Great point. Great point. Could you please turn to the next slide with the context of our company, so you guys can reach out to us and we can set up separate discussions to go into more details about it. All right. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Sanju. I think we can wrap it this session. So before we go out, so probably I can set to the chat some kind of an exit poll just to better understand our audience and to better understand what we are going to focus more on our following webinars, to better understand how we can meet your requirements. All right, I think this is it. So thank you very much for coming today. I think this was a great experience for both of us, for our speakers, and and for our audience as well. We hope that it was very exciting and insightful being here today. All right, this is it. Thank you so much. We'll keep in touch.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Sanju. Thanks, Stan. Thanks to all the team, for being there, and thank you for your time. We'll come back to those who have their questions unanswered, so please stay tuned.
All right, thank you. All right, see you then. Bye-bye.